Radio 1 with just a reminder that live and direct from the Soviet Embassy at 8 o'clock, Big Country. And I met Stuart Adamson earlier on to talk about the launch of the whole package, the LP, the Russian dates, which all go under the banner of Peace in Our Time, something they obviously feel very strongly about.
Well, the background to the whole thing was that the song itself came out of my impressions of the Reagan-Gorbachev summits last year, and it was subsequently followed on when in the summer of this year we were invited by the Berlin Youth Association to go and play a festival in East Berlin. And whilst doing that, and it went very successfully as well, while doing that, people from Finnish Radio 1 and I think the Russian Cultural Attaché or something like that were there. And we were subsequently invited to go and play not only in Moscow but to do shows throughout the Soviet Union, I think. And so we were very interested in it. Then we went to play in Tallinn at a festival set up in the Estonian Republic, part of the USSR. So here we find ourselves.
So is Big Country's Peace in Our Time a celebration of peace and what's been achieved, or is it a hope for what may come?
Well, to be quite honest about it, the actual interpretation of the album title is much more ambiguous than just a direct plea for sort of world sanity. I'm quite happy to hang my hat on that as one of the interpretations of it, but it can work on other levels where it can be an ironical type of statement where it's saying, okay, there is this greater understanding coming about between the superpowers, but there are a lot of other problems in the world which need dealing with. And it can also be a very personal and very intimate as being someone's own quest for peace in their own time. So I have, for myself, I have various interpretations of it. But if someone wants to see it as simply a plea for a worldwide sanity, then we're quite happy to go with that, yeah.
Because I was going to say, I mean, with the sort of improving or the thawing of relations as they're variously described, I mean, it would probably make as much sense to do a gig in Tehran and one in Baghdad, you know.
Yeah, I
as
think
much
so.
as to go to Moscow.
I think the great thing about popular music is the fact that it does cut across cultural and ideological barriers, that it can communicate with people without them understanding the specifics of the contents of a song.
You've done gigs in all sorts of places. I mean, from your very early days to, you know, like massive, huge stadium, but you've never played in an embassy before, have you? In fact, no rock group has ever played at the London Russian Embassy before.
Not ever, no. It's quite a to-do, to be quite honest. The reason it came about is because the shows that we're going to do in Moscow are actually the first to have been promoted by people other than the state. It's actually done by the Foundation for Social Invention, and it is actually going to be indoors and in a stand-up venue as well. Previous to that, things have all been put on by the state and been in very much a sort of everyone sit down and well looked after, as it were. But so it's quite a big thing, and the embassy wanted to mark this by having us go in there and play and let people understand a little bit about what it is that's going on.
Could you describe the embassy, just for the people who are listening at home, who obviously will hear the concert and perhaps they'll get a picture in their mind of where you're actually playing, because it's quite unusual. Yeah,
I think if anyone's ever been in the sort of the sort of staterooms of any public houses or stuff like that, you know, big country houses that are open to the public, it's kind of like that, except rather than the portraits being of the Marquis of Queensberry or something like that, they're actually of Lenin and people who have been influential in the history of the Soviet Union. So it's pretty much that. It's actually like playing in a very sort of posh living room.
One thing I read last week in Melody Maker was that following the couple of dates you've already done in the Soviet Union, you'd had some time to think about revising your opinions about socialism and Russian socialism.
Yeah, I think it's very strange to go, for me personally, to go to a country where almost everyone when you talk to is absolutely desperate for the system under which they live to be changed, who is absolutely... with any very rigid system, it doesn't allow for people to change and for people to be individuals. And I think that although the world has changed around about the Soviet Union, that the Soviet Union hasn't changed and has tried to keep itself far too much to itself. And hopefully, with what has been happening over the past year or so, will continue, and that they will continue to be outward-looking rather than try and be self-contained all the time.
It looks like you've got an exciting time ahead. The Moscow dates, and then as many dates, presumably, as you can fit in following that. That's
right, yeah. We're actually due to start our own world tour in January, and what we're going to do is actually do all those gigs as a part of that, which will be another first as well. It's never actually been an official part of a world tour.
You've got a lot of exciting things happening.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's something which is very positive and something which I think is definitely, from our point of view as a band, is done as a very honest and a very open gesture of goodwill and faith, and I would like it to be interpreted as such. I think it's very easy to be cynical about such things. For anyone who's particularly worried about our motives, and I can assure them that they're of the purest quality.
We have got thousands, glad to hear that, we've got thousands of Big Country fans going to be listening to your live set on Radio 1 tonight. Thank you for that, because through you it's the first time ever the BBC's been able to do a live broadcast from the Russian embassy as well. But you're also, for your fans, doing a documentary. That's
right, yes. We're actually going to be filming quite a lot of the things that we go through over the next few weeks, so people will be able to see it sometime later on in the year. Yeah.
Fantastic. Stuart, I wish you lots of luck. We'll be looking forward to the gig a bit later.
Thanks very much, thank you.
Stuart Adamson talking earlier on, and now a world exclusive. For the first time ever, live from the Soviet Embassy in London, Big Country.
Hello and good evening. I'd like to welcome you all here this evening for the first time ever the band's played in the Soviet Embassy in London. It's hope everyone enjoys themselves, and hopefully this little thing that we do here tonight may lead to us all having a more restful sleep in the future. Thank you. This is called Peace in Our Time.
Let's turn to the new album, Peace in Our Time. Quite an apt title, considering you've just played your first gig in Russia, went down very well. Was it just a coincidence that you've got a series of gigs in the Soviet Union, and the album seems to be suggesting, through its very title, peace between men?
Yeah, there is a duality in the album title, that it can also be interpreted as an ironic type of statement as well. I like to have that kind of ambiguity in my work. And yeah, really, it is a coincidence. We've been trying to come and play in the East since we were basically not long after we started gigging, you know. And so for some reason, I think probably because of the perestroika and the glasnost, that Russia is, or the Soviet Union is, opening itself up a little bit more to Westerners, and we are losing a little bit of our suspicions, as are they. And so I think it's not been until this year that we've actually been able to get any concrete replies from people on coming here to play.
King of Emotion, which is the current hit in England, the first single you've had in the charts for nearly 2 years, I think. What on earth have you been doing in 2 years?
Well, quite a lot, actually. What actually happened was our contract was up in the United States at the beginning of last year, and so because of the nature of the band that we are, it's important for us to get to know the people that we're actually going to be worked with. So it took until September of last year for us to finally decide that we were going to sign with Warner Brothers in America. And by that time, Peter Wolf, who had wanted to produce us, had actually started working on a different project. So we had to wait until December until Peter was free. And then we started recording in February of this year, and here we are now.
Where did you write the songs for the album? At home in Scotland?
Yeah, all the songs. I always try and write at home. I think that's what makes good writing, is strong emotions remembered in times of tranquility. And I think it was Wordsworth who said that.
Also, when we've spoken before, you were just about to go out on a series of small gigs around Britain, because you said to me, and I quote, and maybe you'll remember this, you're a little uncertain about this new material. However, when I spoke to you on the boat, you said that the album Peace in Our Time is actually typical Big Country. Did you change your mind?
I think it's typical Big Country in as much as that whatever we do is very much a representation of what we are as people, you know. It may not be the Seer, or it may not be Stilton, or it may not be the Crossing, but it is very much us, you know. And I think it wasn't so much of being unsure of the songs, it was just a matter of being sure of the arrangement, you know. I think that was the important thing, because we were developing into a state where we knew that we were beginning to really get hold of our confidence as a band, and understand that we don't have to play 100% all the time for it to be powerful and for it to be emotive, you know. So we wanted to go and also just to warm the band up for recording and try out the arrangements and see what worked and what wouldn't work, and what worked, not so much what worked as a sort of a for people there, but what would work for us as a band, what we felt comfortable playing, you know. And it worked bloody great. It was a really... The tour was very special, I have to say, the tour that we did in clubs, because it was so intimate and really... And people who had over the past few years had only seen us in big halls and stuff were able to come and see us in a very close environment and smell the sweat of our armpits, as it were. And it was really great. The gigs that we did were brilliant. They were all great, but things like... This is the first time ever in my life I played in the Mayfair in Newcastle. It was unbelievable.
It's a super club, the Mayfair in Newcastle.
Outrageous venue. I don't know why we've never played there before. It was brilliant.
Are you going to come back?
We're definitely coming back to Newcastle. I don't know whether it'll be in the Mayfair, but even during the Skids I never played there, and I don't know why, because it's a great venue.
What's your favourite track from the album? All of them. Go on, say it, all of them.
No, I really like Broken Heart and 1,000 Yard Stare. They're my kind of current favourites, but I'm very pleased with all the album. I think for the first time all the tracks work as songs in their own right. You know, we can take things off the album and they can stand up alone. Sometimes with previous albums, if you took songs out of context, they wouldn't really work.
Let me just ask you one final question about the album Peace in Our Time. Do you think that it's your best album as a band so far?
No, I know it is. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's our best album, because I think the band is better now than it's ever been before. I think we're playing better, we're brimming with confidence, and and things are working like things are coming so naturally to us that you wouldn't believe, you know, just instinctively knowing how to improvise, and we really have a great relationship within the band, not only personally but musically as well.
Will you hedge your bets that it could be a #1 album?
I'm not fussy if it is or if it isn't. I'm happy with the record, and that's success as far as I'm concerned.